Jemsana, who's in East London. Busi, a very good morning to you. We hear that complete chaos broke out last night between the rival factions. What can you tell us about that?
And correctly so, Alicia, chaos did break out last night when the conference took a short break for dinner. A group of delegates and other members who are said not to be delegates or legitimate delegates took to the venue, forcing their entry in. The conference had to adjourn, and delegates were told that it will resume today at 7 a.m., where each delegate would be screened before getting in to verify if indeed they are legitimate delegates that are supposed to be inside. We are outside now, outside the gate of the ICC, East London ICC, and all delegates are outside. The process of verifying delegates has not started. We are seeing a turn of events. Alicia, you'd remember yesterday, supporters of the outgoing provincial secretary, Oscar Mabuya, they were chanting songs, they were excited, they were on the ground, they looked like they were championing, they were positive, there were many of them. But today, if you can see, the people behind me are supporters of the outgoing premier, chairperson rather, Phumulo Masualle, who have been holding it down outside the venue, have been singing, chanting songs, saying that they support chairperson Masualle. On the other side are supporters of the provincial secretary, Oscar Mabuya. They've been very quiet this morning. So far, there hasn't been any chaos. Also, security have been beefed up. There is a heavy police presence inside and out the venue. The PEC is currently in a closed meeting. We await for them to see when they get out of that meeting what will happen, as we're expecting that verification of delegates should have started. You'd remember that the delays that were caused yesterday were a result of dispute over what they call illegitimate delegates. It looks like that has not yet been solved. As we're standing here, the conference has not yet started. There are even those who are calling for voting to be set aside, saying that there are branches that are not supposed to be inside, but they are inside. They are conceived as legitimate delegates, and therefore the conference will not start. You did listen to the clip of the provincial spokesperson, Mlibo Koboshiana, who said that they would verify all delegates and that it is accreditation, it is the adoption of credentials that would determine what happens next if those who are calling for the votes to be set aside raise their arguments inside the conference. We are waiting to see the proceedings from now forward. Alicia.
All right, Busisiwe, maybe do tell us what else is the provincial leadership saying in terms of the importance of unity, as of course all the provinces will be heading, in fact all the branches will be heading towards the December elective conference. We just spoke about this yesterday.
Indeed, Alicia, it was yesterday, even so, when the Provincial Executive Committee said they are prioritizing unity and that they need to go to the national December election united in order for the voice of the Eastern Cape to be heard. But we saw a turn of events. In fact, when the opening started, one would have thought that unity indeed was commanding inside the venue, as they were all rallying between the OR Tambo songs, saying this is the year of OR Tambo, and therefore, despite divisions, despite in fact differences in the succession debate, but they should go there disciplined and they should go there united. But discipline we did not see soon as the conference took a break last night, as those stormed in, creating chaos inside the conference venue. We remain to see, Alicia, if when the conference finally sits, they will be united in terms of going to the national election, because if they go there divided, it would mean that their voice as the Eastern Cape will not be as solid as they would want it to be to voice their concerns. Alicia, I'm seeing Andy Lelungisa, who raised the issue that was calling for who was calling for the voting to be set aside. I just want to grab him and check if we can't have a minute with him to raise his concerns and to find out why he wanted it to be postponed. Just gonna ambush him, and I do apologize for the ambush. Thank you for joining us. You are saying that voting must be set aside in this conference. The Provincial Executive Committee is saying that the conference must continue and that they will verify delegates.
No, it's what we are saying. The conference must continue. There must be verification of each and every delegate in order to have a clean and a credible conference. What we cannot allow is fraudulent activities where branches are supposed to participate in this conference. They are locked outside. There are issues that have not been addressed even on the day of the registration. They were never registered. But what they've witnessed, wrong branches, they've been accredited instead of correct branches. That's the issue which must be able to be addressed. We have taken a number of decisions as a PEC that let us do a cleanup where we even mandated the NEC members. But when it comes to implementation, it becomes something else.
And if those who are verified are those that you feel like they should not be inside, what then?
No, we are simply saying correct branches who have been elected at the constituted branch meetings must be able to participate inside. Not our friends. It's not a conference of our friends. We cannot bring our friends in this conference. It's a conference of branch delegates which must participate, been elected by structures of the organization.
Thank you so much for your time. That was Andile Lungisa from the Nelson Mandela Bay region saying that they are standing and saying that those who are not supposed to be inside should not be let in the conference. We are yet to see whether they will find a common ground to actually identify those who are not supposed to be there in the conference. As the PEC yesterday said, they did the cleanup, they verified people. We are yet to see again another verification, each delegate being verified before even getting into the gate of the conference venue. We will be bringing you the conference as it happens, Alicia.
Right, Busisiwe, just maybe touch on these issues. What are some of the most relevant issues that are currently plaguing the ruling party? And maybe take us through what the role of the alliance partners will be during this particular conference out in East London.
Alliance partners, Alicia, will play a role of observing the Congress. Yesterday night, they gave their messages of support to say that the ruling party must correct its mistakes, saying that there has been a number of reports, there has been a number of recommendations on how the ruling party can restructure itself, can make sure that internal issues are solved and that they do not end up in the courts of laws. The SABC coming out strongly saying that they continue to support the ANC, but it needs to take a stand against corruption. It needs to speak out before it loses all power in all the metros and it loses membership, and that membership on the ground is hungry for leadership. They are waiting for leadership to lead them, and that this conference must rise to the occasion and produce policies that will be against corruption and raise arguments, debates that will shape a way forward in order for the ruling party to remain intact and to remain the ruling society at large and have a strong relationship with its alliance partners and begin to debate and talk about what is happening and not crucify those who talk out against corruption.
Busisiwe, talk to us about, of course, while we're still talking about unity, has the situation in the OR Tambo region been resolved at this stage? I mean, this is the biggest region out in the Eastern Cape.
Indeed, it is the biggest region in the Eastern Cape, Alicia, and to have the OR Tambo region being split, being divided, is something that the province will bear consequences of. You'd remember that just recently on Monday, the court dismissed the application to have the Congress, the Regional Elective Congress of 2015 nullified. They are still divided, though some wanting Oscar Mabuyane to lead the province and some wanting Phumulo Masualle to retain his position as the premier. It is yet to be seen after the Congress whether or not they will go back and mend issues and be one, talk with one voice. But as things stand, they are divided in who they want to lead them. It is now going to be back to the branches to say, what do we do now? Now that the court has been dismissed, now that we have lost in the Congress, if a certain faction loses, because it can only be one faction that will win the Congress, the election, the provincial Congress. Now it will be up to the leaders, in fact, Alicia, those who will be elected here, to go back to those regions that are divided, to go back to the branches and unite the divided party, especially OR Tambo region, which is largely divided. And it is a huge task ahead, considering that there have been court cases, considering that there have been this ongoing campaign where they were discrediting each other, where there's been a lot that was said, where they are accusing each other of fraudulent activities leading up to this conference and in this conference. So it is something that we are yet to see, Alicia, if there will be unity. But as things stand, they are still divided as to who they want. Hopefully they will find a common ground after the Congress or after the National Congress. But I'm telling you, Alicia, it will be a difficult task that leaders will have to rise above to unite the party. Or we will see a situation where we go to the courts again, people challenging decisions that have been made, challenging congresses that have sat in the province.
All right, Busen, before I let you go, a very quick one. Now, we were expecting, of course, all the final results of the leadership, the new elected leadership to be announced by today. But I mean, as you've just told us that they've had to now re-register the comrades, as we see behind you. But tell us if we are likely to get any sensible or final outcome on the PEC by the end of today.
It is highly unlikely, Alicia, that we'll get any outcome of the election today. As I told you, that the Congress was expected to start at 7 a.m. with verification. There are close to 2,000 delegates that are expected to converge to the venue, and each one of them will have to be screened individually going into the venue. And as things stand, looking at what is happening now, it is highly unlikely that by the end of business today, we will continue with that. To remember, Alicia, that when they go inside, even if the verification process continues and they get inside the conference venue, they will have to discuss credentials, which is the holding point, where the discussion point where some are saying credentials are not credible and some saying that a cleanup was done and credentials are credible. It will probably take the whole night just to discuss that. They are also expected to discuss the organizational report. To remember, yesterday nothing much was done except for messages of support. So it is going to be a long night. We are expecting to go to tomorrow. Maybe by tomorrow afternoon, then we can have an election announcement of results, pending, of course, what happens inside that Congress venue, pending, of course, how they debate, how they raise issues in the credentials. Because as soon as credentials are adopted, then business will run smoothly from there. But they will have to discuss credentials, of which at this point in time, Alicia, there are still disputes over credentials.
Absolutely. All right. Busisiwe Jemsana, thank you so much. That is our reporter on the scene there. She is covering, of course, the ANC's provincial elective conference there. We do understand that chaos erupted last night between the rival factions. And as we've just heard, about 2,000 delegates have now had to restart the verification process. And it's not yet quite clear whether or not we will have those final elected members, new leadership that was supposed to be elected by the end of today. It doesn't seem likely that it's going to go that way. But we'll definitely keep in touch with our reporters on the scene and keep you up to date with the goings on out in East London.